to understand the usage of Malloc dynamic memory allocation function. So within this we have seen the syntax of dynamic memory allocation called Malloc. So for a pointer variable we need to assign cast type is nothing but it's a typecasting followed by star and Malloc followed by n into the byte size. So this cast type is an optional. Depending upon the requirement we can use this cast type. Next, here I am using the different header files. One is stdio.h, standard input output header file. As I am using some string manipulation functions, so I am using string.h, and this is the very important library, that is standard library.h, which supports for this dynamic memory allocation functions like malloc, calloc, realloc and free. So for these functions, the standard library function for these functions the standard library function supports. Now let me initialize one variable called string, which is a character type, and the memory allocated for this will be at runtime. That is, this is how we are going to allocate the memory using malloc function. Malloc of 20 into 20 is some random value. I can give any value, n number I can give anything. 20 into size of character, which means totally 20 bytes of memory will be allocated to this string variable. If string equal to null, the memory cannot be allocated. If string value equal to null, then memory cannot be allocated. Else I am copying this string. So we know the usage of string copy function. So this is, the first part is destination and the second one is source. The contents of source are copied onto the destination. So after copying we are printing this content. Printf dynamically allocated memory, and the content is, we are printing the string content whatever it is there as part of this particular line. Now let me execute this code and let us see how the memory will be allocated dynamically and the string will be printed. Dynamically allocated memory and content is this one, learn coding with Virtulearn. So this is what the string which I have copied into the string. So this is how we can use the memory allocation function called Malloc. So this is dynamic memory allocation function, and as soon as you allocate the memory, the immediate next you need to write this free string. You need to also free the size whatever it is been allocated at runtime. So this is how we are going to use this dynamic memory allocation function called Malloc. One more example for Malloc dynamic memory allocation function. So this is a syntax, ptr equal to cast type star malloc n into number of bytes. That is, we need to give it as size of whatever the data type. So hash include stdio.h, hash include string.h, hash include stdlib.h, standard library. So if you require you can use this string.h, if you not you can just remove this. So as part of this program I am not using any string.h, so I am removing it. And the concept behind this program is to perform addition of the array elements. Usage of Malloc dynamic memory allocation function and add all the array elements and print sum. Add all the array elements and print its sum and print its sum. Int main, so I have initialized some variables or identifiers num comma I comma star ptr comma sum equal to 0. So first I am asking the user to enter the number of elements. So I am taking the number of elements as num. This is a very important statement where we are allocating the memory dynamically at runtime using Malloc function. So it is according to the syntax ptr equal to int star So int is nothing but the cast type. So the data type we are using as integer. So we need to cast according to integer only. Int star malloc num, the number of elements whatever we have took here, num into size of int. So the size of int will be 4 bytes. If I take 5 numbers, 5 into 4 is 20 bytes. 20 bytes will be allocated for this pointer variable. So this is done at runtime. If ptr is double equal to null, which means memory did not allocated, and your program will be exit from here. And the next one, if the ptr is not equal to this null, then it goes to this printf enter the elements of array. So here we are reading the elements of array and simultaneously we are adding. So this is the logic to add and enter the array elements. So here we are writing the logic both together to add and enter the array elements. So this is what the logic. So after performing the addition, we are printing the sum. So as soon as we print the sum, the next immediate step is we need to free the pointer. That is, whatever the pointer variable memory will be allocated at runtime, that memory you need to free it, because that memory can be used by some other programs, or you are making the resource available for some other programs. Now let me execute this code and check whether the addition of all the elements has been correct or not. So enter the number of elements. Totally I am taking 5 elements in the array. Now these 5 elements I am taking it as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So these are the 5 elements. You can see here sum is equal to 15. If you add all these elements, you are going to get the sum as 15. So this is a program for understanding the concept behind a dynamic memory allocation called malloc function, and this is also a problem statement where we can add the array elements with the help of dynamic memory allocation function called malloc. So according to the question asked in the exam, you need to suppose to write this particular program.